Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to the March briefing session. I'll declare this meeting open at 6 p.m. Kaya Marman, Kaya Yoga, Kaya Bridie, Yananuk, Nalak Karij Winji Alaknini, Nalak Kaji Nija Bujabal, Wajak Nunga Buja Nalaknini, Kura, Nijie Burawan. The town of Bassendean acknowledges the Whadjuk people of the Noongar Nation as the traditional custodians of this land. We pay our respects to elders past and present and acknowledge their continuing culture and the contribution they make to the region. Just a reminder, this is a formal meeting of council, so no media and no photos are permitted to be taken in this chamber other than the town of Bassendean video and live streaming. Thank you. Attendances, apologies. Councillor Carter is attending online. Thank you, Councillor Carter, for joining us. Can you hear us clearly?
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Yes, I can hear you very clearly.
Okay. Apologies, we have Mr. Cameron Woods, Chief Executive Officer, who is absent tonight. Councillors, declarations of interest. Do I have any declarations of interest? I believe I've got one from Councillor Ames. Councillor Ames, would you like to state what your declaration of interest is?
Yes, thank you, Madam Mayor. It's just in relation to 12.5, in relation to the dog on and off leash and prohibited areas. It's a proximity interest.
Yes.
I live across the road from one of the parks that are in question.
Okay, thank you very much. I'll just put this back. Okay. Announcements by the presiding person. It is recognised that many members of the public in the gallery have a particular interest in agenda item 13.1, notice of motion. For the convenience of those in the audience and in attending this meeting, I will bring this item forward to the first item to be considered in the agenda items. Due to the expected volume and possible complexity of some inquiries or questions, there may be some questions that will be taken on notice, in which case a written response will be provided to the resident and that response included in the minutes of the meeting. Additional information may be found regarding Wind in the Willows on the facts page on the Town of Bassendean website. I wish to advise that additional documents relating to the council-operated childcare service, Wind in the Willows, will be released at 10:30 a.m. tomorrow, Wednesday, the 18th of March. This relates to the confidential reports. A special electors meeting is scheduled for the 25th of March to allow the public to discuss this topic in detail and make decisions to be considered by council at the special council meeting scheduled on the 9th of April. Please allow me to highlight some key points to ensure the meeting proceeds in accordance with the town's meeting procedures and that members of the public are clear on how they can effectively participate. This briefing session provides councillors with the opportunity to obtain and exchange information with town officers on items contained in the forthcoming ordinary council meeting agenda. The town is committed to ensuring that the briefing sessions are held and conducted in a safe environment. Any person attending is required to be respectful and courteous. Unruly or disruptive behaviour will not be tolerated. Any member of the public displaying such behaviour will be asked to leave the chamber, which may result in the meeting being adjourned, which will be disruptive to all in attendance. No debate is undertaken by council at briefing sessions, and no decisions will be made on any agenda item during tonight's meeting. Public statement time and question time are each limited to 15 minutes only, and council members can request that this time be extended. Any questions relating to the special electors meeting that have not already been raised through previous forums or taken on notice at this meeting may be submitted to the town via the online website forms. Please go to the Council tab and then to Public Participation section of the Town of Bassendean website. Questions must be submitted by 12 p.m. Tuesday the 24th of March 2026. Submitting questions prior to the meeting will allow council administration to be prepared with answers at the meeting, which will assist electors to make more informed decisions at the special electors meeting on the 25th of March. We'll now head into statements, and before I go into the statements and the deputations and what have you that have been provided online for the Wind in the Willows item, I'd like to invite Manuel to come to the microphone, or your son, because you have a different item that you wish to discuss, which I believe is item 12.6, is it not? Okay, so thank you very much for attending, and if you'd state your name and address, that would be excellent. Can I have the microphone turned on? So the red light needs to come on.
Thank you.
Thank you. That's for our live streaming
Yes.
and recording. Thank you.
No worries. Michael Samet, 7/20 Old Perth Road, Bassendean.
Thank you.
Thank you for the opportunity to speak regarding the safety concerns on Old Perth Road between Guildford Road and the West Road roundabout. We have Samet Real Estate on Old Perth Road, and us, along with a lot of the other businesses, are concerned about the safety of our staff, customers and the wider community. To address these concerns, we request the council to consider the following measures: installation of CCTV cameras along Old Perth Road. This will provide both a deterrent and evidence to assist police investigations, particularly for theft, vandalism and assaults. Improve street lighting, whether it's sensor activated or brighter lighting, to enhance visibility and reduce antisocial behaviour. Other things also with exploring grant opportunities through the state government, WA Police or Lottery West to help assist funding with this. These measures are reasonable and evidence-based and necessary to create a safe environment for businesses, workers and the community. Over the recent years, there's been numerous violent incidents and antisocial behaviour in this area. Business owners have reported over a dozen serious attacks, as well as ongoing issues with vandalism, broken bottles and property damage. Business windows are being smashed, and police often ask business owners to provide footage from our own private CCTV systems to assist with their investigations. This shows that surveillance is critical in helping law enforcement respond effectively. A coordinated public CCTV system along Old Perth Road would improve safety and police response. According to recent WA Police statistics in town of Bassendean, there were over 1,000 recorded offences last year. Of these, which are non-family specific, there was 76 assaults, 41 threats, 6 robberies, 46 burglaries, 271 thefts and 133 incidents of property damage, along with 73 other drug offences. These figures demonstrate that crime and antisocial behaviour are real and ongoing concerns, particularly in the commercial area of Old Perth Road. Research from both international and Australian studies show that CCTV can reduce crime and improve public safety. Australian Institute of Criminology found CCTV reduced property crimes and burglary by a significant amount. New South Wales found that CCTV in shopping areas reduced crime by 10 to 20%. They also found this in UK. And CCTV also improves perception of safety, encouraging more community enhancement and eyes on the street, which further deters crime. In Perth, research had shown that CCTV increases crime reporting and faster police response, and we've also seen improvement on King William Street where they've installed cameras near the train station. Street lighting is another proven measure to improve safety. Brighter, better maintained lighting discourages antisocial behaviour, makes people feel safer walking through commercial areas, particularly in the evenings. We're not asking for anything unreasonable, we're just asking for a safer environment so that businesses can survive and employees feel safe coming to and from work. Some staff already feel unsafe walking alone, particularly in the evenings. This affects not only the security of individuals, but the viability of our local businesses. As Old Perth Road is a key commercial and community hub, it contains cafes, retail shops, a school, public library, aged care and many other businesses. The town of Bassendean has a duty of care ensuring that safe, well-lit and properly monitored will benefit the businesses, residents, visitors and the town as a whole. We just want to say thank you for your time in listening to this and hope that you'll take these steps on board. Thank you.
Thank you very much. So next week, you've obviously read the report in the agenda, so next week will be the decision-making forum. And again, thank you for coming and providing your point of view.
Appreciate it. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, Manuel, at the back, being very quiet. So, okay, councillors, I also neglected to check in with the Declaration of Civic Duty and Responsibility for the audience. I will read that out. Every councillor signs a declaration at the beginning of formal meetings, and the declaration is, I make this declaration in good faith and declare that I will duly, faithfully, honestly and with integrity fulfil the duties of my office for all the people of the town of Bassendean according to the best of my judgment and ability. Councillors, have you all signed the declaration? If not, we will actually get it sent around after the meeting so everyone can sign. Okay, thank you, councillors. Again, given it's not a decision-making forum tonight, I don't see a problem with signing that during the meeting or after the meeting. Councillors, we now go on to 5.1, which is statement time. Now, I have several statements that have been sent in online. So what I'm going to do is go through those first. The first person was Pandora Sullivan. Pandora, are you in the chamber tonight? No? Okay. So Pandora was basically going to talk about the proposal to divest Wind in the Willows. She says it affects a service that has been a part of our community for more than 40 years. Decisions on this scale require a process that gives residents confidence that all relevant information has been considered and that the community has had a genuine opportunity to respond. Now, all of these statements will appear in the minutes of the meetings. Okay. Sorry, was that photos, was it? No. Okay. Okay, fine, that's fine. Thank you very much. Okay, so Pandora's not in the room. The next person was Lucy. Lucy, would you like to come up to the microphone and provide your statement? Yes. Okay. If you could actually give your name and address, that would be excellent, and then provide your statement.
My name is Lucy Shalita, and I'm a resident of 74 Villiers Street in Bassendean. I speak in support of Councillor John's motion 13.1. I would like to respectfully highlight a strong community concern regarding the perceived level of consideration given to strategic, financial and regulatory governance in the proposed disposal process. The community recognises that the operation of an approved childcare service presents increasing regulatory and operational complexity for local government. However, it is also understood that there are established legislative and regulatory frameworks that guide these processes, including requirements published by the ACECQA, Australian Children's Education and Care Quality Authority, and obligations under the Education and Care Services National Law Act of 2012. There is a concern within the community. Without further information or transparency, the current proposal may not clearly demonstrate alignment with these frameworks, particularly in relation to the transition of an education and care service, continuity of care, and stakeholder engagement expectations. There is a community perception of limited transparency in relation to the reasoning for disposal, including financial considerations and governance decision-making processes. This impacts the community's sense of engagement, with residents, electors, families, staff and other stakeholders seeking greater opportunity to understand and contribute to the decisions that directly affect them. Thank you.
Thank you. I note that you have a question, but we'll come to question time later. Thank you very much. Okay, the next person that I've got on my list is Kathleen English. Kathleen, would you like to come to the microphone and state your name, address? Thank you.
Kathleen English, and my address is Unit 213, Clawton Way, Bassendean. I just wanted to make a statement on the officer comments on motion 13.1 regarding the current Cha-Cha-Cha Proprietary Limited offer becoming potentially null and void. I believe that is speculative. If the motion carries, it's speculative to assume that it would become null and void. There is plenty of time between now and when a decision is made for communication with the buyer. The community is not likely to be upset if the offer becomes null and void and the process starts again. In fact, community members have requested the process be extended or restarted prior to this briefing session today. Thank you.
Thank you. The next person I've got on my list is Laura Symes. Laura, are you in the chamber? Okay, I'll just give a brief summary. This is quite a long submission. These all appear in the minutes of the meeting. So Laura makes a written statement regarding item 13.1. She started the Change.org petition in late evening of 25th of February with the news of the Wind in the Willows going on for sale. So basically has indicated that her children are now teenagers, but they graduated from Wind in the Willows. News of the proposed divestment obviously concerned her, so much so that she started the petition. The petition was a way for my friends and neighbours to express their disagreement with the proposed sale, and it was quickly shared across a range of community members, achieving 1,400 signatures. Believes in the strength of the community's reaction to the announcement, demonstrates the town's proposed approach is not acceptable. So, like I said, this is quite a long, it's actually more of a deputation than a statement, but in any case, this full statement will appear in the minutes of the meeting. The next person that I have is Jeremy Manning. Jeremy Manning, are you in the chamber? Jeremy indicated he was going to do a statement, but he has actually not provided a written form of what that statement is, so I have nothing to read out. But undoubtedly, Jeremy can attend next week's meeting if he so desires to provide a statement. We will now go to public question time. Oh, sorry. Yes, sorry. There are other people in the audience who wish to make a statement. So I think I've got Sarah Quinton who'd like to make a statement, and then yourself. So we'll have Sarah Quinton first.
I'm going to let Emma go first.
Okay. So if you'd like to state your name and address, that would be great.
Emma Barrington, 13A Deacon Street, Bassendean. My statement is in support of motion 13.1. Thank you, Councillor Ken John. I'm just going to talk about, it's not a deputation, but I'm just going to talk about consultation in Western Australia. So in WA, genuine consultation is not simply a process of informing the community after a decision has effectively been made. It requires meaningful opportunity for the community to be heard and to influence the outcome before a decision is finalised. Consultation should be open, transparent, and undertaken at a point where feedback can genuinely shape the decision, not simply confirm a prepared or preferred course of action. Supporting this motion is the opportunity to ensure consultation is genuine and not retrospective.
Thank you very much. Ms Quinton, did you want to make a statement? Again, name and address if you don't mind.
Sarah Quinton, 23 Deacon Street, Bassendean. Mine's actually about another item on the agenda, although if you might indulge me, Madam Mayor, I'd like to first ask a question since we're going straight into question time, and that is it usual practice for security to be in the room for a council meeting, and when did this start?
Councillor Former Councillor Quinton.
yeah,
Former
well,
Councillor
you're
Quinton.
right.
We will take your question at question time. You want to do a statement. So you've got a statement here where you want to do one on 12.2 and also 13.1, I think. Is that correct?
I'll do 12.2. I think the community has had
Okay,
enough time.
Thank you.
12.2 is about the Deacon Street Foreshore redevelopment project, a motion that I put forward at the general electors meeting. Just wanted to reiterate, and I have sent this to councillors, that I have done further recce's of my neighbours, and they're all very supportive of the project going ahead. I've also been in touch with Mr. Taylor Bell, who is the lead teacher at Bassendean Primary School that runs River Rangers. And he's very supportive of a winter planting project for the students at Bassendean Primary School to be involved in the project. $5,000 is an excellent amount to start with, and I would also probably say to officers if they could consider making sure that there are skip bins. I did note in the motion, in the officers' comments, that rubbish would be taken away, but also any mulch could be provided. And then that is that. Very happy with the officers' comments. Thank you so much for that. I will speak to 13.1 just quickly. It is not too late. It is not too late for us to turn the wheels back on selling what is not just a financial property or service within the town of Bassendean. It has been a home where we put our children every day and they go and play and they make friends and they feel safe. And there is nothing safer for a mother or a parent to know that when they go off to work every day and pay taxes and rates, that they are leaving their children with the most beautiful people that will be compromised if we sell this to a for-profit organisation. It just will. All the evidence internationally, nationally is showing us that when we go to a for-profit organisation, standards drop. They do. We're not saying that cha will do that. We're not suggesting that at all. But what we are saying is that we want to maintain the confidence that when we drop our children off for the day to play and enjoy themselves and to learn, daycare is not just a babysitting service. It is school. It's mini school for kids. This is where they learn sharing and how to eat properly and hold a fork and sing and the alphabet. And I will end there. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Are there any other members of the audience who would like to make a statement? If not, we'll move on to question time. So again, I have a series of questions that have been sent in by email. So I've got a question here from Lucy. Lucy, would you like to come up and present your question? I do have a written response ready as well, so I'll read that out. Okay. But if you can present your question so people in the audience and people online will hear what you've got to say.
Absolutely. So if I need to introduce myself again.
Would you like to read the question out? Sorry, Lucy, yes, your name and address. This is for the minutes.
Yeah,
sorry.
absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I'm Lucy Shalita of 74 Villiers Street in Bassendean. My question relates to my earlier statement. Within the frequently asked questions provided online, there was mention to the Local Government Act and this disposal process, but it doesn't pertain to national legislation surrounding care services and in particularly the Education and Care Services National Law of 2012. I was wondering what regulatory frameworks, standards and requirements regarding care services were considered by Council in progressing this disposal process, and does Council consider that the current proposal is aligned with the aligned with those requirements.
Okay, so I've got a statement here that's been prepared by the administration because you sent your questions in early. So the town considers the Education and Care Services National Law WA and the Education and Care Services National Regulations which apply to childcare services. The town must also follow the Local Government Act 1995 WA for the disposal of local government property, including public consultation and a council decision. If the proposal proceeds, the required approvals and notifications for transferring the childcare service to a new provider would need to be completed under the relevant legislation. So basically we operate under all the WA requirements. You mentioned a national requirement there, but we operate under the WA legislation.
So it is WA legislation in relation to the national law, so it is the WA portion of the Act.
I can ask the acting CEO if there's anything additional to add to that.
Through you, Madam Mayor, I'll defer to the Director of Corporate Services.
Thank you, CEO. There's nothing added to that. Just reminding you, we're actually if we do go ahead, we're actually transferring it. We're not actually selling it under the Aqua. This is what you're talking about.
So it is, sorry, to my understanding, if I'm allowed to speak, it is a transfer of the service and there is regulatory frameworks that need to be followed around that. I just find it interesting that in questioning online, you're talking about Local Government Act, but there's no real transparency in the process of that transfer, and I don't think that has been provided under that Act.
So what I can do is ask the staff to provide you a written response. Yeah. Okay. Now, you had another question as well.
I did.
Yep, if you'd like to ask that question as well.
Thank you. Given that the sale is proposed as a sale of land, how did the town decide that it had the jurisdiction to register the name Wind in the Willows and its associated enterprise as a business name, as determined by ASIC on the 16th of February this year? And with the claiming of this name, was any consideration given to the late councillor Beatrice Chapp, her family, or the intentions she had when proposing a community service for the town?
So again, the response I've got from the administration is that the town of Bassendean operates the Wind in the Willows childcare service as part of managing the service and the proposed transaction process. The town registered Wind in the Willows as a business name with ASIC, which I believe has been registered for a very long time.
It appears to be registered this year in February.
Okay, again, pass that to you.
That's correct.
Well, do you want to answer?
Oh, sorry, my apologies. Yes, that's correct. She is correct.
Okay. Okay, so what I'll do is go on to... there was more to that. Sorry, I didn't see that. The town recognises the long history of the service and the contribution of the former councillor Beatrice Carp and who helped establish the service name. Sorry, I did not see that on the next page. What I'll do is I'll continue with the questions because there's quite a few, okay? So the next person who provided questions was Rudyard Connery. I don't know if this gentleman's in the audience. Okay. So I'll read out the questions and the answers, okay? When did the town of Bassendean decide to undertake a sales process for Wind in the Willows? The town of Bassendean resolved to progress the potential divestment of the Wind in the Willows childcare service following consideration of a confidential council report at the ordinary council meeting on the 22nd of July 2025. At that meeting, Council considered the financial performance of the service and the available strategic options and resolved to proceed with exploring divestment of the service and associated land through a formal disposal process in accordance with the Local Government Act 1995. Again, these responses will be provided in writing, okay? May I ask, Miss Acting CEO, because the gentleman is not in the chamber, will these be emailed out to him tomorrow?
Yes.
Okay, that's great. Thank you. Who authorised the commencement of the sales process? The commencement of the sales process was authorised by this council of the town of Bassendean through a formal resolution at the ordinary council meeting on the 22nd of July 2025. Council authorise the Chief Executive Officer to implement the resolution and progress the divestment process, including engaging a commercial agent and undertaking market testing. What process was undertaken to sell Wind in the Willows? Following Council's resolution, the town undertook a structured and transparent process to test the market and identify potential operators. This process included engaging MMJ Real Estate as the town's appointed commercial agent to manage the market process, undertaking market testing through an expression of interest process which was publicly advertised to potential childcare operators, allowing interested providers to submit proposals to operate the service. Bearing in mind that tomorrow morning at 10:30am, these confidential documents will be made available so you can read all the reports that the council has read. I'll continue on assessing submissions received through the EOI process, undertaking due diligence on the preferred respondent. The disposal process was undertaken in accordance with the requirements of Section 3.58 of the Local Government Act 1995, which governs the disposal of local government property. The next question from this gentleman, he has about 8 or 9 questions. The next question is, how long did the sales process run? They undertook a 5-week marketing campaign which commenced on the 17th of October 2025, and the EOI process closed on the 20th of November 2025, a 5-week marketing campaign. I believe that's market typical. A process of longer than this is not considered appropriate as you risk market fatigue and the marketing material dates quickly, particularly in respect to a business sale. The next question from this gentleman, how many providers were invited to engage as part of the sales process? The town undertook marketing, well, I don't think it was the town that undertook marketing, it was the consultant who undertook marketing testing through a expression of interest process managed by the appointed agent, MMJ Real Estate. At the time of going to market, MMJ sent an electronic direct mail out to their childcare database, which comprised 236 entries. 128 views were recorded. This is a significant number at 50% view rate, which is generally only normally 30%. Inquiries 19. These include both direct approaches from MMJ to groups considered to be potential buyers I'll clarify that in a minute. Inquiries generated from the marketing undertaken, right. This process was intended to test the level of interest in the market for continuing Wind in the Willows service with another provider. I might add, we'll see in the documents tomorrow, that there were approaches to not-for-profits as well, okay? How many providers submitted bids? At the conclusion of the expression of interest process, 1 provider expressed interest in progressing discussions regarding the operation of the service. What assessment criteria did the town of Bassendean use to evaluate the proposals? Expressions of interest received through the market testing process were reviewed by MMJ, having regard to a number of key considerations, including the operator's experience in delivering early childhood education and care services, their capacity to continue operating the service at the existing location, proposed operational arrangements for the service, the ability to provide continuality for children and families, proposed transition arrangements for staff. All at the conclusion of the expression of interest process, 1 provider expressed interest in progressing discussions, and the town considered the proposal against these factors before entering into a due diligence phase. What due diligence did the town of Bassendean undertake on Cha 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 Group Proprietary Limited? Following the expression of interest process, the town entered into a due diligence period with the respondents, Cha 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 Group Proprietary Limited, between the 17th of December and the 23rd of February 2026. This period allowed both parties to review matters associated with the proposed transaction, including the proposed commercial terms, operational arrangements, and contractual matters relating to potential transfer of the Wind in the Willows service. Following completion of this period, the town proceeded with the statutory public notice process required under Section 3.58 of the Local Government Act 1995, which requires public notice and consideration of submissions prior to any decision being made by council. Now, I am just going to ask the administration a question there because there's a step missing in here because December meeting was where council approved the next stage. So that was a council decision as well. At the December OCM, there was a confidential item, which was a council approval of proceeding to the next stage. Okay? But that's actually not listed here, and I'm just making a note of that because you will see that tomorrow anyway. Okay. Now, that's all the questions have been emailed. I would now invite anyone in the audience who would like to ask a question to come up to the microphone, state your name and address. And we have 2 questions, and then I usually move on to the next people in the audience so that we get through everyone in the room. Okay?
Emma Barrington, 13A Deakin Street, Bassendean. The town has told ratepayers they subsidise Wind in the Willows. What percentage of the town's rates currently go towards Wind in the Willows services?
Okay, on that note, we will refer. So, going to take that on notice and an emailed response will be sent to you ASAP.
Thank you.
Thank you.
My second question, does the town intend to close Big Willows in Ashfield at the end of 2026, regardless of the outcome on the 9th of April? The information on the FAQs is not clear to the community.
Can I just answer that in that no decision has been made by council? The reason no decision has been made is because during an advertising period there can be other applications, there can be other proposals put forward. So
That's
we,
great.
as a council at this moment in time, do not know what feedback has come through during that consultation period. We do not know what other proposals have come through. So we can't at this point in time definitively say one way or the other what the decision of council. Council, during any formal meeting, can do several things. A council can accept or reject an officer's recommendation. A council can defer an item to a later date. A council can put up amendments to the officer's recommendation. A council can put up an alternative to the officer's recommendation. All of these options are open to any councillor around the table at formal meetings of council. So a decision about what may or may not happen with the Ashfield site has not yet been made. It really does come back to the council. There have been some discussions, I will not lie, there have been discussions about the Ashfield site because with only 35 places as a licence, it is probably the most difficult site to run at even break even. It doesn't even break even, okay? So that is a problem. There have been in the past, even councils before this one, there have been discussions about merging the 2 Wind in the Willows. There have been discussions about potentially building a new Wind in the Willows. There have been discussions about, one of the more recent ones was, could the development at 1 Park Lane accommodate a new childcare on the ground floor? Unfortunately, the state government were not receptive in any way, shape or form to that suggestion. So there are multiple discussions in the past regarding Wind in the Willows and how to make it a more efficient, family-friendly, because obviously if families are dropping their children off to one location, it's great. But that has not eventuated in any way, shape or form. So yes, there are discussions about Ashfield. Has a decision been made? No. So that's where we are at the moment. Okay?
Yep, thanks.
Further questions? Yes. Bryce, lovely to see you back, hun.
Thank you. It's good to see you all here.
Bryce, state your name and address, please.
Bryce Campbell, 17 Hardy Road, Bassendean. Just noting the increased IT level in the room, it's really good. I've got 2 questions here. So why was consultation completed to date only centred around the sale and not about the service more broadly?
Amanda?
Could you clarify what you mean by that, please?
So the consultation is in line with the Act about disposal of property. The community hasn't been consulted around the service ceasing.
But the town has followed the statutory process required under the Local Government Act under the disposal of property. This included the public notice and a submission period, and the council considered those submissions before making any decision.
That's not a response to the question. That's a...
Yeah, I think...
I'll take it on notice.
You might want to take it on
I,
notice.
yeah, I think, Bryce, what you're getting at is why were other ideas not considered? Is that about it?
Yes.
Oh, right, okay.
Yeah, I think that my previous answer probably indicated that there has been canvassing of other ideas, but they've all...
So the community specifically.
Yes.
It's a community
okay.
service.
Yep,
We,
yep,
we want to be transparent.
yep.
My second question is, which company completed the valuation of the Wilson Street site, and did the valuation include the value of the service?
It was actually through the mayor. It was the MMJ who actually did do the valuation, and everything was valued at the time. You will see this tomorrow, though, when all the papers will be released in more detail.
I have another question, but I'll let others go.
You can stay and ask your third
Okay.
question. I'll let you. For old time's sake.
Yes, okay. So would the council consider any other proposals being made between now and when the item is being considered? And if so, what is the cut-off for new proposals to be considered?
I think until we actually see the reports, because clearly there's going to be a significant amount of information that comes through to the special council meeting. Number one, the community feedback is currently being collated, and that will form a part of the report. So councillors are very keen to see that. Like I said previously, we have no visibility at the moment of any potential other submissions that have been made that could offer a different pathway forward. So we don't have that visibility until we see the reports. So I don't know that I can give you a response that is fulsome or gives you any comfort at the moment, because you understand yourself, having been in council, that those reports are very detailed, but councillors rely on those to make decisions, and they rely on a whole range of information. So basically, I don't think you're going to get much traction on that at this moment. So, thank you. Thank you very much. Other questions from members of the audience? Miss Quinton, after you. So,
Emma Barrington, 13A Deakin Street. My question is, there has been a proposal put forward to the town for a parent-led not-for-profit. That proposal has a constitution and a number of items. That was sent to the CEO. I don't have the date on me, but it was supported by a number of parents in the community, lawyers, clinical psychologists, child health nurses, governance, HR officers. We couldn't submit a wholesome proposal because we don't have the information. That was actually due on Friday the 13th of March in line with feedback. So we haven't been able to make a fulsome proposal for a community-run not-for-profit.
So my assumption is that that will be included in the report that comes to council for the special council meeting. Now, that report will be available prior to Easter, the Easter break. My understanding is it'll probably be the 2nd of April that it actually hits the town's website. So I would believe that any sort of proposal at all will be listed in that document with everything else that we'll be getting.
Okay, thank you.
Okay? And name and address, ma'am?
Hi, my name is Dr. Emily South. I live at 22 Scadden Street, Bassendean. My question is, were any subject matter experts consulted? I know that you've consulted with consulting firms, but were any subject matter experts consulted in this process around childcare? Were any professionals inside the service consulted? And if it wasn't appropriate, were any external professionals consulted?
So, I thought MJ had some experience in that area. Yep, okay. Okay. Okay, I think the answer is probably no, but again, if there's additional information, I'm going to get that email to you. Okay? Thank you. Ladies and gentlemen, former Councillor Quinton. We sat next to each other for 4 years. What
I'll
can I
make
say?
another statement. I am not running for council again, don't worry. Unless I change my mind about this. You never know. I'm just off the last question there. My first question is in two parts. Were councillors provided with a workshop on the national quality standards? And were you also advised that the national quality rating of Wind in the Willows is exceeding, and that the standards for cha-cha-cha only meets the standards? And for you, Madam Mayor, through you, if not, why not?
Okay, so there were workshops regarding...
On the national quality standards specifically?
We know that Wind in the Willows was and is exceeding...
Did you know that? Sorry, maybe I can just clarify my question.
Don't interrupt.
But I just want to clarify my question so you can provide me the best answer, Kath.
You are not actually going to let me finish.
Okay, fine.
Right. So there were workshops, and those workshops did discuss the standards of Wind in the Willows, which exceeds expectations. Okay. I do believe that cha-cha-cha is listed as exceeding standards in one of their facilities. If you look at every website on these childcares, on the right-hand side, it has a list of any compliance issues, and it has a list of their exceeding or meeting expectations. So that is actually with every childcare when you look them up. So did we check out the national standards? I would say no, but then again, the town has managed to run Wind in the Willows, exceeding expectations for a very long time. So I do believe that we should congratulate the administration and the staff for doing a fantastic job. Okay, so I don't think that councillors personally need to know every dotted I and crossed T of the actual regulations about the charter. Thank you.
I have a second question.
You certainly do.
What is the sale date for the sale to Cha-Cha-Cha?
There is no date because it hasn't yet been decided by council.
Oh, I'm sorry, I must be confused because you've already made a contract with them to transfer. No, this hasn't happened? Okay. That is a genuine misunderstanding then within the community about the information that we have, is that I'm just letting you know, that we have the idea that something has already been agreed to financially with Cha-Cha-Cha. So I'm just letting you know. That's why I asked the question.
Okay, so when you sell a house and you have an offer on that house, does the offer become valid until it's signed? No.
When you sell a house, all parties, when selling that house, is aware that you're selling that house.
Okay.
We have not been aware that you are selling this service.
So rather than twist the conversation, you know as well as I do that until a seller signs on the dotted line, it's not a sale, it's not a complete sale. There is a decision to be made on the 9th of April regarding this offer. Then that's what it is, it's an offer. Whether there are other offers, I don't know, because at the moment I have not seen the officer's report regarding all the information that may or may not have come in during the period of advertising. One would expect that during a period of advertising there might be multiple different offers. There may be an offer from a not-for-profit, I don't know, because I haven't seen that report as yet. Okay?
Yeah, so why was the special electors meeting put for the 31st of March and not put for the 24th of March?
Because
Or
that-
even the
because the C-
April OCM?
Because the CEO actually fixes the dates for a special council meeting, and he selected the 31st of March as being a topical. We've got a lot of people in the audience, so now it's been pushed back because the community wanted more time, so we've pushed it back to the 9th of April. And the 9th of April, that's when we will look at all the information. We'll look at the information from the 2nd of April when it becomes public on the website. But also there's public information being published tomorrow at 10:30 a.m. regarding all the confidential reports, so you can read what we've read thus far.
Great, thank you.
Thank
Last
you.
question. Since
You've
when
gone
do
on
we-
to 3 now, but
Thank
yes.
you. Since when do we have security in the council chamber?
I like our security people. They're quite lovely.
not answering the
Have you not
question.
introduced yourself to them?
Well, she
Okay.
did come over and incorrectly tell me that I couldn't be on my phone. So I do think that that is incorrect information, that if we are going to have security staff in the council chamber, they might want to know what the rules are and what the rules are not, rather than coming to a member of the public and telling them they cannot look at their phone.
So, Ms. Quinton, would you like to take your seat?
Can I get an answer to the
No,
question?
you can take your seat.
Since when do we have
You can take
security?
your seat. Ms.
Will
Quinton?
you email me the answer?
Madam Mayor, can I please place a point of order into the chamber, please? Just due to
I
the
think
fact
that Ms. Quinton can either take her seat or leave the chamber.
Can I have
No,
the question emailed to me?
you can leave the chamber.
Thank you, Michelle.
Thank you.
Thank you very much, Madam Mayor.
Kathleen
Hi.
English, Unit 213, Clawton Way, Bassendean. Just for a point of clarification, I believe Ms. Quinton's question about why the special electors meeting was scheduled after the next General Council meeting. The next General Council meeting is scheduled on the 24th of March, and we were given the date for the special electors meeting to be the 25th of March. There were no options given. I believe that was actually her question previously.
Okay, so thank you. Thank you, Kathleen. So the petition for a special electors meeting potentially could have been pushed out for 45 days. However,
I understand that.
Yep. However, the desire was to, if I have any more interruptions from the back bench there, I will actually close this meeting down. Thank you. So basically, 35 days, 45 days, whichever, that would have actually meant that your information, the motions that you might put up at a special electors meeting would not be heard until after the original date, which was the 31st of March. So by pushing the special council meeting out to the 9th of April, by bringing forward what was going to be the special electors meeting, it allows you to present motions. It allows those motions to be compiled into the reports so that we can consider those along with all the other information. So it is about trying to accommodate all these different people with their different needs and to try and get the information into a format that can be considered en masse so that councillors can make informed decisions. Now, like I said originally, councillors don't have to proceed in any one direction. They can, as I said, accept or reject the officer's recommendation or defer, or they can put up an amendment, or they can actually put up an alternative. These are the actions that any councillor can make on any item, even this one. So it's not a predetermined decision. And I have said that in the past, but then I got put up in Perth now as being supporting when I was trying to impart information, but never mind, that seems to be the go. So
I can't speak for Perth now.
no, I know. So anyway, so
Noted. So I have a question regarding the gendered workforce by the town. So if the proposed disposal of the property of Wynd and the Willows goes ahead, that would mean there would be a large reduction of a mainly female workforce from the towns. What would be the gender diversity of the town's employees if that were to happen? And has that been considered?
okay, the council have always attempted to have a diverse workforce, and that includes gender equality. So that's something we've always aimed for. I will have to take that question on notice because I would need to find out what those percentages would be once and if a Willows divestment happens. Okay?
Yeah.
So that will get emailed to you as well.
Thank you
Okay.
very much. Just for the record, I think that would be something important to consider in all disposals of
Oh,
properties.
it's been important for this
So
council for many years.
If it wasn't part of the process, that would be disappointing.
Thank you. Any further questions? Yes, sir. Would you like to come up to the microphone and your name and address, please?
Chris Williams, 98 Whitfield Street. The question that I had written, had written down has already been answered. But another question that I've got for the council is, in the proposed divestment or sale of Wilson Street, there were two entities mentioned. So it's not selling Wilson Street to a company, it's selling Wilson Street to two entities. I'd like to know why, what's been looked into, or a bit of an explanation as to what the go with that is.
I potentially believe that it's the same, that they have different business entities. I think they've got two childcare under one entity and another one under a different one, but I have to check on that.
Okay.
Okay. So can I get that also sent to you by email?
Yep.
That's my understanding,
Okay.
but I need to double check.
No problem.
Okay, thank you.
you.
Okay, ladies and gentlemen, further questions? Okay, so on that note, I'm going to close question time. Deputations, yes, we have two deputations, and I just want to check. The first one is Jenny Hudson and Emily Hugh. Okay. So if you'd like to come to the microphone and provide your deputation. Now, the way deputations work is we've got maximum of 10 minutes. Usually we try and divide that up into, like, say, about 5 minutes deputation and then a few minutes for councillors to ask questions. But I'll leave it to you whether you want to take up the whole 10 minutes with just your deputation or whether you want to make it short and brief and allow councillors to ask you direct questions. Okay.
I've never done this before. This is
It's easy.
it's kind of fun. Hello, my name's Jenny Hudson. I live at 52 Walter Road East, Bassendean. This is my friend here. This is Emily South. She lives at 22 Scadden Street, Bassendean. Okay, I'm going for it. Good evening, Mayor, councillors, town officers and community members. Emily and I will be speaking today in support of Councillor John's motion 13.1 to reopen and extend the community consultation period for the proposed disposal of 2830 3234 Wilson Street, Bassendean. We will be discussing the impact the current consultation process has had on Wind on the Willow staff, parents and children. We will highlight the responsibility Council has at a local level for this service and to the children in our community. Our aim is to use an extended consultation period, if it is granted, to work on a solution together as a community. I am a Bassendean resident and a child health nurse at the Child and Adolescent Health Service. As well as my undergraduate degree, I have completed further studies specifically in child and adolescent health and development. There is a vast body of growing research that shows experiences in early childhood have lifelong consequences on health and wellbeing. These include journal articles, clinical nursing guidelines, the Royal Children's Hospital's seminal report, which I'm sure you must have heard of by now, the first 1,000 days, the federal government's early years strategy. This research is impacting policies and procedures and how we care and nurture childhood development at organisations across Australia at local, state and federal levels. I will happily provide via email copies of these documents to Council. Please just let me know. All the research begins in the same way. The brain development in the period from conception up to 5 years old has the foundation for lifelong health, emotional well-being and future learning. Key actionable areas that promote development in this critical period are secure attachment, responsive caregiving, providing a safe and stimulating environment. Secure attachment promotes children to have higher levels of empathy, greater skills mastery, and higher levels of confidence. The relationships children develop with their early childhood educators during this time are one of the key attachment relationships formed in early childhood. It's important to note the role community plays in childhood development and the impact of ecological theory. Ecological theory refers to the impact of the environment on a child's development, and this covers family, community, local, state, and federal governments. The federal government's early years strategy urges the community to understand how important early development is. One of the strategy's priority focus is to support local solutions, that's us, to local problems, that's wind in the willows. These solutions prioritise the community as active participants in the development of policies and service delivery that provides children with the opportunity to thrive. Everyone can contribute to raising healthy, resilient children. In my role as a child health nurse, we typically see children at birth, 8 weeks, 4 months, 12 months and 2 years. Unfortunately, attendance at the 2-year-old check is low. In the latest figure spanning June 2019 to July 2020, only 30% of eligible 2-year-olds attended their 2-year-old check. Of course, COVID had a large impact on these numbers, but it's an ongoing problem now 6 years later, and the Children and Young People's Commission will be releasing updated data this year. The next formal health check children receive after 2 isn't until they start kindy, or pre-primary if they don't attend kindy, because kindy is not compulsory. Early intervention is key when it comes to addressing developmental concerns, and many delays such as those with speech or social and emotional development cannot be picked up specifically until a child is 1 or 2 years old. Early educators play a vital role in identifying developmental concerns and communicating with families during these periods. The displacement of the Ashfield cohort is of particular concern, as these children are aged between 3 to 5. Not knowing their fate puts them at risk of developmental issues not being picked up. An extended consultation period allows us to effectively consider where these children will go. Oh my God, do I still have time? We as parents have deliberately chosen Willows as it is advertised by the town as not-for-profit community-run childcare service. This is because not-for-profit childcare organisations typically prioritise process quality over profit. Process quality refers to an organisation's structural quality. This includes ratios, group size, educator training and educator wellbeing. Process quality directly affects a child's attachment to their educators and how responsive their caregiving is and the safety and quality of their daycare environment. I hope you will please see the links I'm trying to draw here between secure attachment developed in early childhood and that educators who we know and trust looking after our children play a pivotal role in this when we're stuck at work. I'm going to skip some stuff because I don't want to run out of time for Emily. If we extend the consultation period, we have time to work together on a solution that benefits the town, its residents, but most importantly, will benefit our children. Thank you.
Can you send through a copy of...
I would love to.
Thank you. Because I think if we're going to publish, we actually need your text. I only have a summary.
I didn't know how many word limits were.
Okay. And,
I'll just continue on, shall I? Good evening, Mayor, councillors, town officers and community members. My name is Dr. Emily South. I'm a Bassendean resident and a clinical psychologist employed by the WA Health Department. I've completed both a Master's in Clinical Psychology and a PhD, both of which focused on early childhood development. I'd like to begin this statement by publicly acknowledging the Wind in the Willows staff. A decision made by parents and that we face in the current climate is with escalating cost of living pressures is how and when to return to work, not if. I love my job and I was happy to return to my role supporting the community. However, the decision of who you will entrust the care and education of your very small child to is an agonising one. I know how important quality childcare is to the development of strong and resilient kids, as Jenny has just outlined. Issues within the early childhood education and childcare sector have been splashed across our news media, only increasing the anxiety of parents who need to return to work to support their families. I remember being terrified the first day I dropped my son off at daycare. However, I knew from the moment that I walked into Little Willows that this was a place that he would be safe. The dedication and experience of the Willows staff and what they bring to their work is clearly on display from the minute you walk into the centre. My son has thrived in the care of the incredible Willows staff. An argument I have heard for the divestment process to date is that given the Willows staff are so valued, the process needed to be confidential to protect them. I will not speak for any staff member, but I will say that when I walked into Willows to drop my son off on the 26th of February, the morning after the council letter, the feeling and sentiment was one of confusion, devastation, and deep, deep disappointment. I did not feel a sense of value for this wonderful, wonderful service. A great injustice of the process that has been undertaken to date is the insinuation that another provider can come along and deliver the same level of service. So I say now for the public record to the Willows staff, to us, you are invaluable, and thank you. When it comes to the provision of childcare services, the research and evidence is clear. Better quality care results in better outcomes for children. Thank you, Sarah, for bringing up the national quality standards. When it comes to the national quality standards, it should be noted that meeting the standards is not simply good enough. This is the baseline minimum standards in the NQS. The NQS also includes an exceeding rating and an excellent rating band. Achieving an exceeding rating is no small feat. It requires the centre to demonstrate an ongoing commitment to high quality practices. As Jenny has just spoken about, the provision of high quality care is crucial to the early development of our children. The NQS data highlights how important Wind in the Willows as a service, as it is now, is to our community. No service in WA, no service meets the excellent standards. Consider that as you think about the landscape of childcare provision that we have in our state. More importantly, only 7% of the childcares in WA meet the crucial exceeding standard. 7%. Georgie Dent, the CEO of the Parenthood, who highlighted in her submission to Council that Wind in the Willows is in a minority in regards to meeting the high quality that it provides. Georgie Dent also noted that the governments and incentives that underpin services are closely tied to the achievement of these standards. This is reflected in the NQS data. Nationally, only 10% of private for-profit centres meet the exceeding rating. In contrast, 37% of not-for-profit community managers centres meet that standard, and 38% of state and LGA-run centres meet the exceeding rating. This is not about diminishing the care of any specific provider, it's about facts. Not-for-profit models deliver higher quality care.
Okay, so
I'm on my last paragraph.
Okay.
With this in mind, the decision to delay the current process becomes an easy one. If the council seeks to ensure the continued access of high-quality childcare in our area, you must delay the current divestment process to allow for genuine community consultation and transparent consideration of alternatives, including the opportunity for the community to put forth a proposal. If you are simply asking for the community to sign off on a deal that you have already made, then the answer is no.
Thank you, ladies.
Thank you.
Now we have another deputation from Emma Barrington and Kathleen English.
Good evening, Mayor, town officers, community members who have attended in support of this motion. We are speaking in support of item 13.1, Councillor John's notice of motion. To proposing to reopen consultation and defer the decision relating to the divestment and disposal of Wind in the Willows. For many families, including myself, Wind in the Willows has become part of the social fabric of this town, supporting local children and the broader community. It is part of a story of growing up in Bassendean across generations. Almost 50 years. The current presiding councillors and officers are only the present custodians of this icon. Many residents believed Willow's services were a stable community service. It was not at risk. It did not require significant rate subsidy and was not being considered as an asset for sale or closure. If the possibility of sending Willow's services or closing or merging Big Willows had been openly discussed prior with adequate consultation, I believe the situation we are now facing today would likely have been very different. Because this process occurred confidentially, the matter was not able to be openly discussed amongst community, within the community, by councillors or by people considering standing for council during the 2025 election. In many ways, the community has felt deliberately constrained throughout this process. Councillors have an important responsibility when making decisions about community assets. These decisions should be thoroughly researched with all options carefully considered to ensure outcomes align with the town's vision and values and are in the best interests of community. The town's vision states the town will effectively engage the community, make well-informed, responsible and transparent decisions, embrace innovation and best practice, and maintain financial stability. And one of the town's core values is excellence, which commits the town to providing consultative, ethical and responsive services. Wind in the Willows is an excellent service. Tonight, many residents are asking whether the process undertaken so far reflects those commitments.
We acknowledge that the town has taken some steps in response to the community's serious and valid concerns. This includes announcing that the special council meeting vote to be deferred by 7 business days to the 9th of April from the 31st of March. This includes, after we filed our petition signed by over 417 residents, a special meeting of electors was scheduled for the 25th of March, earlier than required. However, it is unfortunately one day after the ordinary council meeting, and no other ordinary council meeting is scheduled between that and the decision. And also agreeing to release confidential documents on 18th of March. Unfortunately, though, this is 3 business days after the feedback closed. Current timeline still does not provide enough time or a clear process for the community to access, understand and respond to the additional information that will be released. The strength of the community's reaction since the announcement demonstrates that the town's proposed approach is not acceptable to many residents and simply does not pass the pub test. When news of the proposed sale became known on the evening of the 25th of February, it spread rapidly throughout the town, community groups and parent networks. In response, a Change.org petition was created that same evening so residents could express their concerns. By the time of the snap rally outside the town offices on Friday the 27th of February, less than 48 hours later, the petition had already received well over 1,000 signatures. As of this afternoon, the petition has reached over 1,500 signatures, I believe, although at the time of the writing of this, it was 1,439 signatures, many of which are Bassendean residents.
I would like to briefly quote a few comments from residents on the Change.org petition. One parent wrote, "Community-based care is so important and the centre does an incredible job of looking after children in its care. Families choose Wind in the Willows for a reason, and it's disappointing to see the justification for the proposed sale reduced to overhead costs and compliance regulations, as it gives a clear indication of where priorities are for this private sale." Another wrote, "Being community and not-for-profit made Wind in the Willows a clear favourite above all the rest for my family. My 2 children adored their time there. It will really let community down to privatise." Another resident commented, "Profit before quality and care is becoming the norm these days. Come on, Bassendean, you can show you are better than the rest. Let's see the councillors who care. Keep Wind in the Willows and enable the kids a great start in life." Direct community feeling on this issue is also clear from the number of official hard copy petition signatures obtained over just a few days on the March long weekend, calling for the special meeting of electors. The vast majority of these signatures were not parents using the service. The vast majority of these signatures were from ratepayers. The officer's comments on motion 13.1 and several comments made by councillors since the proposal was announced indicate that there is a belief by council that this only affects a small number of residents. it is clear there is a significant portion of the community that care about wind in the willows, and that disposal would affect the wider community despite the officers' and councillor sentiments. Since filing the petition, we have received many more offers of support and residents willing to sign.
Initially, the only information available to residents was a very brief FAQ section on the town's website. Understandably, this limited information led to speculation, confusion, and division within the community. In the past 2 weeks, more information has begun to be shared, including updates to the FAQ page and a social media post by the Mayor. There may well be valid reasons why the town has recommended selling the service. However, for a service that has operated in this community for decades and cares for our youngest residents, we believe the level of engagement so far has been insufficient. What is needed now is time to consider the information released tomorrow and a clear consultation process that allows the community to understand the proposal and explore whether other options may exist. For example, some community members have begun exploring a community-led NFP model which could allow the service to remain as it is, staff continuity and continuity of care for the children, while removing the financial and regulatory burden from the town. The officer comments... I will skip that part for the sake of time.
Many long-term ratepayers have indicated that they would be willing to continue supporting the service through rate subsidies, if that helped maintain this valued community service. More broadly, there is also growing public discussion nationally about the differences in quality between profit-driven childcare models and community-based services. This is another reason why many residents feel strongly about preserving the values that have shaped the town. Deciding the
future of a long-standing community childcare service through a confidential process, including determining who may ultimately operate and care for our children, is deeply concerning to many residents. It is not just about childcare, it's about whether decisions affecting long-standing community services are made with transparency, genuine consultation, good governance, and community trust. A decision of this magnitude could have been approached in the following ways. Long-term, genuine consultation with the community, families, and staff to determine community value of the service. Then a fully transparent sale via public tender with a transition plan could be advanced if it was to continue. There is still time to do this. From the community's perspective, the process also appears to have been driven primarily by financial considerations. We have not yet seen evidence that subject matter experts in the early childhood education and care, or the centre's educators and staff themselves, were consulted as part of developing the recommendation. Given the importance of early childhood education to children's development, many residents believe that expertise within the sector should form part of any decision-making process.
Councillors, we're not asking you tonight to make any final decision about the future of Wind in the Willows. We're simply asking that you support Councillor Ken John's motion to pause the process and allow proper community consultation and consideration of alternative options, including a community-led not-for-profit model. If the process undertaken so far has been thorough and fair, then a short delay for genuine consultation may not change the outcome. But if it has not, then councillors have an opportunity to correct that now.
Thank you. So
we have printed out copies of our deputation for all councillors here.
That would be excellent.
And we can email a soft copy through as well.
Love an email copy for the minutes clerk. And if you'd leave a printed copy on the end of the bench, that would be excellent.
There is 10.
Okay, if you can leave them there, that would be excellent. Thank you.
And I have Jenny's and Emily's as well.
Yep, that would be wonderful. Thank you very much. Thank you very much, ladies. Very good. Okay, so, right, we'll now go to the report items. And the first item that I'm bringing forward is 13.1. And I am going to ask the Deputy CEO, the Acting CEO, if you would like to actually make any statement on this.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. In response to the notice of motion put forward by Councillor John, I'm just going to read out the officer comment.
Which is for the people at home.
Yeah. So to benefit the people at home, thank you. The current advertising period is compliant with regulations and has previously been endorsed by Council 7-0. Any extension to the period without the written consent of the prospective purchaser may render the current offer null and void, as the town has outlined a process and has already requested one extension until 10 April as a result of moving back the special council meeting to the 25th of March. The notice of motion refers to other engagement campaigns which are of a longer period. These engagement campaigns involved matters that affect the whole of the community equally, whereas the current proposed disposal of Wind in the Willows at Bassendean affects a smaller number of residents that are currently obtaining direct service provision by the council. As this service will continue via a qualified and licensed provider under the same guidelines, the current time period combined with a special electors meeting and a dedicated special council meeting is considered effective.
Thank you. Thank you. Councillors, questions will be directed through me. So I would ask councillors if you have any questions regarding this item. Councillor John, is it a question?
Yeah.
Okay.
The officer statement officer comment states that longer campaigns referred to in the notice of motion involve matters that would affect the whole of community equally, whereas the current proposed disposal of Wind in the Willows affects a smaller number of residents that are currently obtaining direct service provision via the council. Noting that the consultation is currently closed, has this consultation received more or less responses than those previous?
I would have to take that on notice. I can advise that the public submissions received to date totals 243.
Further to that, when considering the length of consultation period, is complexity of the topic considered and individual impact? And how does the town arrive at that conclusion?
Sorry, Councillor John, I might get you to repeat that so I can understand the question being asked.
I'm asking, how is the time frame determined? What do we measure that by? Are we looking at the complexity of the... Yeah.
Through you, Madam Mayor, the time frame is determined by the disposal process under section 3.58, which allows for a minimum of 14 days.
A further question?
Yep.
The officer report states that the current time period is considered effective. How is that effectiveness measured?
Through you, Madam Mayor, it's a combination of adhering to the legislative requirements combined with the special electors meeting, combined with the special council meeting.
So, Councillor John, I'm going to interrupt here. You participated in the decision-making on this item in July 2025 and also in December 2025, and I note that the decision-making was unanimous across the council, and I do not believe that you were absent from those two meetings. Is that correct?
That is correct.
Right, okay. Continue.
Noting that the consultation closed on 13th of March, how does that come into the consideration of its effectiveness when respondents have not had the opportunity to inform themselves with all information being released towards this item?
Through you, Madam Mayor, combined with the Freedom of Information documents that come out tomorrow, yes, I believe so.
Okay, Councillor John, I'm going to ask if other councillors have questions. No? Okay, Councillor John, another question?
in reference to the officer comment, the current advertising period is compliant with the regulations and has previously been endorsed by Council 7.0. Noting that this item, the item this notice of motion is referring to, has been confidential and the only information made available to councillors has been provided by the administration until it went public on 25 February, is it not reasonable for councillors to change their minds in light of new information provided by the community?
Take that one on notice. I would like to ask the Acting CEO a question. Is it not correct that the administration are currently collating all the documentation from the feedback thus far? And is it not correct that reports will be provided on the 2nd of April for the special council meeting on the 9th of April, and that those reports will be publicly available and also available to councillors so that they can consider the matter? And is it not correct that at that meeting on the 9th of April, that any councillor can move to defer this item to May, June, July, whatever? They could defer it for a year if they wanted to, with the support of council. So is it not correct that the deferral motion can be moved at that special council meeting as well?
Madam Mayor, all of the above is correct.
Okay, thank you. Further questions? You finished? Okay. So, councillors, we will now move on to the next item, which is item 12.2, consideration of motion from the 3rd of February 2026 general meeting of electors. So we'll consider that item next, and I'd ask the administration or the acting CEO, did you want to speak to this item?
Through you, Madam Mayor, I would only note that where the intent of the report is to support the motion that was put forward through the annual general meeting of electors, and as a result have prepared an operational project justification for consideration in the 26-27 budget.
Okay. Councillors, are there questions on this item? Councillor Plithka.
Yeah, look, all very good and well for us to all be in agreement. DBCA, have we consulted them in relation to the intertidal zone?
Mr Asmos, would you like to answer that?
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Yes, Councillor Bufka. So I guess probably the issue there will be around, we need to work out first what we're doing in terms of treatments. We've mentioned a few potential activities in the report, but I guess the next stage would be confirming that they will actually proceed and then liaising with the appropriate state authorities.
And those treatments could potentially involve the planting of reeds in the intertidal zone to encourage habitat for rackali and prevent erosion of soil?
Yes, indeed.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Councillor Long?
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I note through the officer's report there's references to assist the local community, engage the local community and volunteers. Have we, referring to Deacon Street here of course, have we identified a specific local community group that we can work with there? And I'm sort of thinking in the mind of the very successful Friends of Bindaring. A similar group would be great.
Yeah, I think that's certainly on the card. So, you know, this project, I think personally, will be best served, obviously with support of the town, but also dealing with as many, I guess, volunteer groups and people passionate for that part of the river as possible. So that's my personal view. So certainly be keen to have those conversations with who is interested in being involved.
Okay. Thank you.
Okay. Can I ask a follow-up question on that? Is it not correct that if a formal group is created, like a friends group, that those groups can then apply for grant funding, not only from the town but also from external bodies? Is that correct?
Yes, that's correct, Madam Mayor.
Okay. So if it's not a friends group or a similar type of structure, my understanding is that they may not be able to apply for grant funding as readily as what a constituted friends group could do.
That's probably correct, but I think also there's an opportunity for the town to assist and potentially apply for the grant funding itself and support.
Okay, thank you. Councillor Ames, sorry, I didn't see you there.
That's okay, Madam Mayor. Say the best question till last. Thanks very much. Thanks for the community to raise this particular notice of motion. Question through you to Mr Asmus. To what extent do we have the ability to facilitate regeneration and restoration of this area, as in regards to how far are we able to encroach the waterway?
Yeah, I guess in conjunction with the DBCA, the town's got, well, I was going to say unlimited, but I compare it to current works we're looking at doing at Sandy Beach, for example, which has similar erosion over a bigger distance, but obviously that's part of the Ashfield Flats Master Plan project that the state government's supporting. So, you can certainly see on that photo there is erosion. There's a tree there that's potentially at risk. So, conversations with the state certainly, and I don't see any roadblocks. I think it's going to be fully supported by the state.
Thank you. Councillors, are there further questions? If not, we'll move on to 12.3, Policy Review, Purchase and Placement of Memorial Seats and Trees. Again, I'll ask the Acting CEO if you'd like to speak to this or have an officer speak to this.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I'm happy for an officer to speak to this item.
Okay, and Mr Asmus?
That would be Mr Asmus.
Thank you, Madam Mayor and Acting CEO. This one was an opportune time, I guess, to combine two policies. So we had two policies due to be reviewed. One was the memorial seats policy that the town has, and also the celebration trees policy. Now they're both up for renewal this year, and really the intent of the same policies, the intent of both policies is very similar. So the opportunity to combine them into the one new policy, again using the town's new sort of policy template. And as you can see with the report, there's only minimal changes, I guess, once we incorporated the two policies into one. They were quickly renaming the policy to Purchase and Placement of Memorial Seats and Trees. The latest template has been used, like I said, which requires modifications to the report to fit into the correct headings. The option of memorials for other infrastructure has been removed, so that's an important one to note. So in the previous policy for memorial seats, there was also a section around considering any requests from the community to put in other infrastructure, potentially donate for playgrounds and things like that. Our research over the last 10 years has been there's been no request like that. It's a pretty big investment, I would have thought, for a resident or community group to put up. So we basically removed that part from the policy and just left it as is memorial seats with a plaque. So that part's been removed, the big infrastructure items. In terms of the memorial trees, a new clause has been included advising that the town will nominate suitable tree species with a final selection agreed by the applicant and with the town's involvement, and obviously depending on nursery availability, and that currently reflects current practice. And just out of interest, we currently have 8 existing celebration trees throughout the town.
Yes.
There's a couple at Sandy Beach, there's 3 at Point Reserve, there's one at Bick, there's one at the Pamelia Way Reserve, so we have got 8. And in terms of benches, memorial benches or seats, we've currently got 3 of those, 2 at Sandy Beach and 1 at Ashfield Parade Reserve. And we do get the occasional request from the community seeking information about how to proceed with both of those. So it's certainly a valid policy, I believe, to keep continuing with, and the opportunity to combine the two was certainly there in terms of timing.
Thank you, Mr Asmus. I will say that I know some of the families who have memorial trees in some of those parks, and some of them actually meet there every year to have a celebration, and it is a very heartfelt celebration that these families have. So I do congratulate the original officer who brought forward this particular suggestion. Councillors, are there any further questions on this particular item? Councillor Polifka.
Yeah, just in relation to, so we're talking about the memorial trees. I think point 7 there in the policy talks about memorial plaques or other materials cannot be placed on or near the tree. I noticed along, say, West Road, for example, where we've got the oak trees, we do have these little metal plaques in the vicinity
They're
of those.
not memorial, they're actually...
No, I understand that they're not memorial, but given that those sorts of things can be put there, I mean, if the point of the memorial tree is to commemorate something, is it possible that we could have something similar to that which could convey, I suppose, the sentimentality of what's being commemorated, but it also might, for the botanically minded, list what the tree species is as well, just to encourage that?
Okay, can I interrupt there? Councillor Plifka, that was there was a great deal of discussion about that originally, and it was dismissed as an idea for multiple reasons. I think that's a conversation where I'm going to get the officer to provide you with some written responses on that. There's...
Yeah, no problem with that. I was just raising that. But yeah, otherwise no issue with that. 3C, I mean, the plaque text is to be appropriate for a public setting, but yeah, no other questions or comments.
So, councillors, are there further questions on this item? Councillor Ames.
Thank you, Madam Mayor, and through you to Mr Asmus. I note here that the scope only applies to those of a deceased individual as memorial. That's obviously standard. The request to recognise a living individual doesn't fall within the scope of this policy, but please correct me if I'm actually, I've got no idea. Which policy does that actually come under in regards to commemorating a living person? If you can provide that information or give it to me on notice.
I would certainly like to research that a bit further. I don't know whether you have any, but shouldn't take me too long to find out, Councillor Lanes.
Sorry. Sorry, that's rather humorous. Okay, councillors, are there further questions on this item? Okay, we'll move on now to 12.4, which is a CSRFF grant. So, again, Madam Director, Acting CEO, would you like to actually provide any commentary on this one?
Many thanks, Madam Mayor. I'll make some very brief comments and then hand over to the Manager of Community Services. This is a report to support the Bassendean Tennis Club's application to convert 2 grass courts to hard courts through the Community Sport and Recreation Facility Fund. You may note that at the moment the fund itself is on hold because the state government is doing a rather lengthy review. However, we believe it's important to bring this item to council tonight to support the club's ability to secure funding from Tennis Australia and to formalise that arrangement. I'll invite the Manager of Community Services to add further should he need to.
Yeah, thank you, Acting CEO. So what I might do is introduce the report, which is probably about a minute and a half summary, and that will probably give a good overview. So the report discusses the conversion of 2 grass courts at the Bassendean Tennis Club into hard court playing surfaces, and it seeks council support to prioritise the project as the town's first capital works sport priority, which is a necessary step in securing the CSR FF funding. So that's the first ask, is that we when we get to council, that we prioritise at number 1. The report, it also briefly speaks to the review of the CSR FF funding. And as noted, the funding is currently being reviewed, and as a result of that, the grant round isn't open. So what I then did with my team was just lay out what the project would be. The total cost is approximately $340,000 to do the project, which covers drainage, new hard court construction, lighting to 350 lux, and fencing. And then we get some really good community benefits from that project. It would allow year-round use. It will reduce ongoing maintenance costs and support the club's long-term sustainability. Further, the town has already allocated funds in the long-term financial plans, so we're well positioned to fund our 1/3, which is the model for CSR FF, council 1/3, state government 1/3, and club 1/3. So the report seeks approval to proceed if it eventuates that there is no CSR funding. The tennis club 1/3, but we would like to cap their contribution because it may potentially put them under financial duress. So we would like to cap their financial contribution, which is captured in the report. And then further, the report seeks approval to push on with that project, so we don't have to return to council for another meeting. Overall, the project supports increased participation in sport, better community facilities, and long-term financial efficiency for the town. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Councillors, questions? Councillor Long?
Yep, thank you, Madam Mayor, through you. I'm not a tennis player, so I can't really comment on the advantages of hard court versus grass. But I guess a couple of questions. Does the tennis club prefer to have a mix of hard court and grass, or is it the goal to actually have everything converted to hard court? Yes.
Madam Mayor, through the chair, it's a enormous cost saving. So the town ceased funding the mowing and some of the other maintenance costs of the grass courts with a view to long-term convert them to hard court. So it's kind of a shared priority of both parties. But ultimately, it's a cost saving, but it's also enables the court to be used year round, which allows the club to generate income. So in that regard, it's advantageous to the club.
Okay, thank you. I understand that. So in this process, has the town or the club considered converting all the remaining grass courts to hard court?
Can I just correct me if I'm wrong, but by converting what they're asking for into a hard court, are we not getting some of the grass court back as public open space? Okay, right.
Good point.
Yeah,
pick
I
up on
thought
one.
that there was a bit of a
Trade.
trade-off
Yep.
there. So the hard courts are not taking up the entire fenced-in tennis court area. There's a part of that grass court that becomes hard court, but another part becomes unfenced and becomes part of public open space.
Great solution. So the tennis club ends up with fully hard court.
Yeah.
Great. Thanks.
Okay. I hope I got that right. So, okay. Councillor Palifka.
Yes, so from a sustainability perspective, obviously we're adding more hard surfaces, but in terms of the water that we would save, we could then apply that to other trees in the town and we would effectively support more canopy than what we're losing to hard surfaces. Would that be fair to say?
Yeah, Madam Mayor, I might defer that to someone with better subject matter expertise on that. Is that something you can answer?
Or do you want to take it on notice?
No, it's fine. Yeah, I'm probably not so much about the canopy. What I will say, though, is that we, in our discussions with the tennis club, we've told them that it's so important that they capture their water because you're right, they're converting grass to hard surface, which won't allow for any infiltration. So as part of this project is catching that water, discharging it appropriately, trying to contain it all on site before it goes into the town system. There's not really any correlation, though, in terms of increasing planting. If that's the question, sort of...
Well, I suppose I can clarify the question by reference to page 114 of the attachments. So there you have an image where it looks like the time of the day, the trees in the vicinity of what will be a hard surface are casting a substantial shadow. Are we able to investigate whether we can have more plantings to ensure that there's more shade on what would be a hard surface that would radiate heat?
Oh, yeah, apologies. That's certainly something we could look at. The more trees we place in the area, the better. So certainly happy to take that on board and see whether that can be possible.
Great, thank you.
So can I ask a subsequent question there that arises from your response? If you're looking at capturing the water from the hard surfaces, it sounds to me like you're going to actually have that directed into the drainage system. Would it not be better to have a filtration so it filters back into the soil? Is that not what you're planning? You're planning to go to the drainage system or a filtration system?
Yeah, I was trying to keep it a little bit less technical, but I'm happy to drill down to the technical nuts and bolts of it. So basically what I've asked them to do is pick up all the water from the hard surface into what we call below ground drainage cells.
Yep.
And in this particular type, they're called Atlanta cells. So water goes into these cells. These cells have holes and gaps in them. And so the water goes into the cells below ground. And the idea is we get as much infiltration into the ground as possible. bearing in mind this area has got clay and quite high groundwater, so we
Okay.
won't go all into the ground. But then the
You've got
reduced
an
amount,
overflow.
then the reduced amount that doesn't go into the ground will have to go into the town system.
Okay,
So
okay.
that's a process.
Okay, thank you. Further questions, Councillor Ames?
Thank you, Madam Mayor, and through you to Mr Rasmus. This might be a question sort of down the track, but is or has the tennis club made it clear or open or suggestive or in agreement that multi-modality line marking for those hard courts is going to be present if and when those hard courts do go down? Obviously, we've got tennis courts marking here, but will there be facility for pickleball, netball, basketball, yada, 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 on a hard court that can also be used for multimodality sports?
So, Councillor Ames, I'm going to suggest that that's a conversation for the CEO. So I think that there's some planning in the process for these things, but I think that this is a conversation to have with the CEO. Okay? Okay, so, councillors, further questions? We go on to 12.5, dog control on, off lead and prohibited areas. Now, I understand Councillor Carter had a question about this particular item, and Councillor Carter, you've been very patient. Would you like to, we'll wait for the officer to provide a summary, then I'll go to you for your question.
Sure.
Who's providing this?
Thank you, Madam Mayor.
Mr.
That'll be me.
Alex. Okay.
So the purpose of this report is to seek Council's approval to designate areas where dogs are permitted on lead, off lead, or are prohibited under the Dog Act 1976 and the Town of Bassendean local law, and to advertise these designations for public comment. The proposed areas are identified in attachment 1 of the report. The report is presented to Council for two reasons. One, to ensure the town has a clear and enforceable council resolution endorsing the designation of each reserve and to commence that process, and to satisfy the requirements of the town's public open space strategy, which calls for a review of our on, off, lead and dog prohibited areas. The administration's review has identified that no changes to the current designations are necessary, with the proposed areas reflecting existing arrangements. In the administration's opinion, the current designations remain appropriate. Our range of services have anecdotally, when there have been instances of non-compliance with the designation of an existing reserve, have generally arisen due to a lack of awareness of the reserve's designation, often influenced by unclear or insufficient signage. In response, rangers have adopted an educational approach, including the distribution of targeted information, which has improved compliance. On this basis, the administration does not propose any changes to the existing designations. The recommendation to Council includes a requirement to present a further report to Council following the notice period to enable consideration of submissions and any potential amendments arising from community feedback. The legislation is for a minimum period of 28 days from a notice perspective. If the submissions did make valid reasons for changes to a designation, that then change, the next report to Council would contemplate that change, and further public notice would be required. But at the moment, there's, I guess, a lack of tracking or designation. Oh, sorry, been a long day. Sorry. The list of existing resolutions of Council relating to individual reserves is non-existent, and it's, to make it simpler and to tidy this up, we're looking to do them all at once, and then if there is proposed changes, to subsequently look at those reserves separately at a later stage.
Okay. So at this point, I'd like to thank the administration for the work that they've done thus far in this area and with education in respect to dogs on lead, off lead. The amount of information that's been put out there in the last 6 months has been very good, and I would say keep the work up, it's good. Now, I'll actually ask Councillor Carter, you want to ask a question on this particular item?
Oh, thank you, Madam Mayor, and through you. I have brought this up previously, but I have a question. why we know that Point Reserve, I think, is the only reserve where dogs are not allowed. Is that correct?
Through you, Madam Mayor, that is correct. Point Reserve is the only dog prohibited area.
Okay, thank you. And there are other parks and reserves along the river where dogs are allowed on a leash. But in Pickering Park, they're completely allowed off leash. Now, we do know that all these river areas are nesting places. They're very fragile. Why is Pickering Park allowed to be a dog off leash and all the others are required to be either prohibited or on leash?
Through you, Madam Mayor, at the moment it's an existing arrangement. The area is a large grassed open area. It's not uncommon for there to be dog off-lead areas adjoining the river or an opportunity for dogs to play in the river. For example, in the city of Bayswater you have Riverside Gardens. If the community wanted something different for this location, we can consider that through the submission process.
Okay.
Thank you. May I have one more question?
You certainly may.
Is it possible to vary these dogs on leash, off leash, or prohibitions? I don't even know the word. To point out that during certain vulnerable periods, such as nesting and so on, that it would be, I suppose, wise to not allow so many dogs either on lead or off lead in these areas. I'm thinking of Mary Crescent Reserve, which is an off-lead area. There are others. Success Hill Reserve is an on-lead, and parts of the Ashfield Reserve, certainly, and also the Ashfield Flats area on-lead. So there are certain times of the year where it's really probably wise to restrict dog access. I don't know how we could see that happening, but at least if we can make the community aware, because I know that the vast majority of dog owners are very responsible and they love Bassendean, and most of their dogs are well behaved and a credit to their owners. So if we made better information available, we could perhaps look at restricting or at least minimising the effects of dogs during nesting times. Thank you.
So can I just add something to that, Councillor Carter? Given that the council have endeavoured to educate dog owners on various aspects of on-lead, off-lead, responsible dog ownership, would you see that as more of an education thing where community members are alerted to when the nesting season is happening and asking dog owners to be responsible and to have their dogs on lead in natural areas where there are potential ground nesting birds? Would you see that as a potential solution?
I see that as part of the solution, Madam Mayor. Thank you for the question. I see that as raising awareness because people often are not aware, but I don't think it's the whole solution. I know there are councillors around this table that have seen acts that we think are detrimental, certainly to our native flora and fauna, in areas close to the river. I would like to see it be part of a two-pronged approach. Okay, education is vital, but we also need to have some I suppose, regulations to back that up. Thank you.
Okay. So, Mr Snedden, would you like to provide any additional information?
Happy to respond to that through you, Madam Mayor. The Dog Act 1976 under Clause 2B, as pointed out in the statutory requirements of the report, for town-controlled or managed land, there is the ability by absolute majority of council to prohibit dogs at all times or B at specified times. So through the Dog Act, that is a possibility that dogs could be excluded from areas
Okay.
within specified times.
Okay, so Councillor Carter, I hope that that's answered your question. If you've got any further questions, if you could send them through by email.
One last question, because the Act also says that dogs should not be off-leash around playgrounds. We do have a dog off-leash area at Palmerston Square Reserve, and we know there's a playground there. Thank you.
Okay. All right, councillors, any further questions? Councillor Long.
Look, all good points raised by Councillor Carter, and I've seen good behaviour and poor behaviour with dog owners. I note, through you, Madam Mayor, to Mr Snowden, you was stated there was generally no change to the existing on-lead, off-lead prohibited areas. Just turning my attention towards Ashfield Flat, which a large part of which has just been fenced off, threatened ecological community. Now, I know that area is not officially a dog off-lead area, but it is effectively a dog off-lead area. So in considering the on-off prohibited areas, have you considered the fact that that's actually been removed for many people that do exercise dogs on and off-lead?
Through you, Madam Mayor, that land is not under the control or care of the town, and therefore this does not apply.
I understand that, but many town residents use that land. It's within the precinct of the town.
Yep.
And it's now no longer available, whether through our own actions or not. That's effectively going to displace people who want to exercise dogs into fewer areas.
As I understand it, there is still a large portion of that land under the Ashfield Flats master plan which will be available for off-lead use, but at the moment it's not. And we have considered that, I guess, as part of the broader review, because we are aware that it is the intention from the DBCA under the Ashfield Flats master plan to have a designated off-lead area in that location.
Okay, and one last question. So we are entering a consultation on this, is that right? Yes, thank you.
Okay. So, Councillor Polifka.
Yes, through you to Manager Snowden. You mentioned that there was some sort of an arrangement in relation to Pickering Park. Is that just something which has evolved over time? Is it just a custom, or is there somewhat of a more, I suppose, solid arrangement pertaining to Pickering Park?
Through you, Madam Mayor. In terms of the Pickering Park, it's a historical arrangement where the resolution of council is that designates that as a off-lead. Not too certain, and hence why we're going through this process.
Okay, no, excellent. That certainly clarifies for me. In terms of, because obviously we've got a lot of land where you do have around the town, especially over in Ashfield, Mary Crescent, large tracks where dogs can run. Pickering Park's smaller. Is it the intention of the policy to provide the ability for not only for dogs to run, but for dogs to swim? Because, I mean, in relation to Pickering Park, obviously a comment was that there would be access to the water. Is that a key consideration for dogs, that they be exercised by allowing them access to the water?
Sorry, I think that I think that that's probably one that we're not going to answer, because we have 11 kilometres of riverbank along this town.
Well, that's the reason why I ask is that we have 11 kilometres of riverbank along this town, which we have to pay for the remediation.
I know we do. I know that very, very well. But I'm actually going to cut the questions on this now and move to the next item. Councillor Polifka, you can take this to an email conversation if you want to. Okay? So, councillors, let's move on. The next item is 12.6, the CCTV, and I wanted to ask a question on this one, a very quick question. I note that the proposal, the officer's recommendation, is all based on going through the budget process, meaning that none of it will be available until the 26-27 financial year. However, my understanding is that the existing pot of money that is used for the rebates for the residential CCTV still has more than 50% of the money in that reserve. Could that not be, if I wanted to move an amendment, could that not be made available in this current financial year, given that there is still money available and it would only be open to commercial customers who are in the town centre.
Through you, Madam Mayor, yes, we could take that under consideration. Certainly, I believe the budget capacity is there. We just need to look at what procedures we would need to develop to enable that to occur.
Okay.
Happy to take for you to foreshadow an amendment, however.
If that was under the same conditions under which the residents get the rebate, i.e. must connect their CCTV to the CAM map network and must have a field of view that includes a partial field of view of a public area like a footpath, that would be the only, I would consider it to be under the same circumstances as what the existing rebate is offered to residential properties. So I'm just flagging that I'm interested in moving a potential amendment on that at the next meeting. Thank you. Okay, councillors, further questions on that one? Councillor Polifka.
Yeah, just on the officer's recommendation. It seems that this is constrained to cameras on Old Perth Road. Does this extend to the rear of commercial tenancies, or is it just Old Perth itself?
Okay, so the report is in response to the petition which relates to Old Perth Road. However, there is, through the recommendations that are put forward to develop a CCTV strategy, we can look a little bit more broadly. However, the focus will remain on, first of all, Old Perth Road and secondly, our community facilities. In terms of the rear, we would consider that as part of the analysis we undertake to develop the strategy.
Okay, excellent. Thanks.
Okay, so Councillor Ames.
Thank you, Madam Mayor, and through you to the Acting CEO. Just point one on the officer recommendation. Obviously, notice petition requesting the town to consider the installation, yada, yada, yada. Why has it stated that the petition has been rejected? Obviously, that the council report is prepared as an alternative, but can I ask why we as the town rejected the petition?
Through you, Madam Mayor, they didn't meet all the criteria that needs to be to enable the petition to be eligible. There might be a better way of saying that, but that is it in essence.
Okay.
So just to follow up on that, so whilst the petition has been formally rejected, the intention of the petition has been largely adopted.
So
okay, great.
We've acknowledged that the petition wasn't eligible. However, we've also noted that we're happy to take it on as a report and respond accordingly.
Okay, councillors, if no further questions, we'll go to 12.7, the ICT strategy. And again, I would ask our dear Tristan to provide some summary on this.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. The town's ICT strategy forms part of the integrated planning and reporting framework that aligns with and supports the council plan. The strategy guides the town's design, delivery and continuous improvement of information and communication technology services supporting broader town services. The accompanying ICT strategic plan is an internal document which schedules discrete deliverables and improvements in the management of the town's ICT hardware, software and information, along with its cybersecurity posture. The prior ICT strategy, covering 2020 to 2025, was the town's first, defining a vision, guiding principles and key priorities for how the town deploys information and communications technology to support broader service delivery. The shorter scale of the 2026 to 2028 successor strategy allows for a multi-year vision and plan while ensuring broad review occurs at a cadence more suited to the turbulent nature of technological and economic factors that continue to influence the town's strategic investments in these services. I'll point out some key areas where we have maintained some major pillars of the strategy, including the replacement of the legacy enterprise resource planning solution currently used by the town, SynergySoft. We have an enhanced focus on cybersecurity, leveraging the learnings and outcomes from the local government cybersecurity pilot project, which the town has been a pilot member of, and our engagements with the Office of the Auditor General. We've also added an area related to uplifting digital literacy, and that's not just for our staff, but also looking at community programs related to engaging with our digital services, so that as we improve digital self-service and guided digital services for the community, that we also have a learning stream to help them engage with those. But equally, cybersecurity community awareness programs, we have delivered those previously through our library team, I understand, and we're looking to align with programs delivered by the federal and state governments to provide ground level awareness to the community as well as part of the strategy outcomes. This updated information communications technology strategy and strategic plan has been approved by the town's ICT governance steering group internally. Has been workshopped by them and was presented to CMC and the council in a workshop in November prior to being tabled this month.
Thank you. And again, I'd like to say that this council was one of a handful of councils that were selected to participate in the cyber security program, and that's a program which will eventually be rolled out to multiple other councils. And I would suggest that it's been very, very successful collaboration between our team and the government's team. So congratulations to all involved in that. Thank you.
Thank you, Madam Mayor.
Councillors, questions on this item? No. Okay, so we move on to the next item. So the next item is, 12.8 is accounts paid. As usual, I'd ask councillors if you've got any questions on the accounts paid that you email them so that the Director of Corporate Services can provide you with a detailed response. We then go to 12.9, which is the monthly financial report. Again, I'd ask if the officer would like to provide Director would like to provide a brief summary on that.
Thank you, Madam Mayor, councillors. It's just another month of good housekeeping, and basically our total, in the report, which you've already read, the town is actually in a good state at the moment. Overall, there are no material financial concerns to the report, and financial performance remains broadly in line with the adopted budget. So there's no surprises from last month.
Okay, thank you. Councillors, any questions on this item? Okay, so we've dealt with 13.1 at the beginning of the meeting. There are no announcements of notices of motion for the next meeting unless someone's got one that they're going to put up now. No, okay. There's no urgent business. There's no confidential business. So I will declare this meeting closed at 6 minutes past 8. Thank you one and all. Thank you staff, administration, and thank you to the people in the audience who stuck it out. So the next meeting of